Okay, if you watched my end of 2025 wrap-up video where I talked a lot about what's going on here in Forest Hill and the progress that's being made, you may have noticed this empty lot here on the corner behind the railroad tracks. And in this video, we're going to figure out what to do there. You may also notice that I decided to move that ground throw to the opposite side of the tracks because I'm thinking I'm going to put a fence up here around this part, at least part of this lot down at the corner, and I figured that would be problematic for getting fat fingers in there and trying to throw that ground throw in between the trees and the fence. So we relocated that to the other side and added some ground cover there. But in this video, we're going to look at what to do with this empty lot. Another project for today is dealing with this drainage ditch that I created right here. I don't know if how well you can see it in the video, but I did try starting off with just a coat of gloss Mod Podge to try to give it a wet appearance. And you really can't see it there, but it did do it a little bit. But I've decided I want to go ahead and go with my original idea, which is to give Woodland Scenics Realistic Water another try. So let's get started. Alright, so here's the fence I talked about that I think I'm going to go with. I think this looks pretty good. I think it's going to need a little bit more weathering, and we're going to put some signs on it, keep out, all that kind of good stuff, beware of dog, and dress it up a little bit. But here, let me get it open and kind of give you an idea of what I'm thinking. Kind of thinking something like this. Now obviously this really highlights how small this space is and what can I actually figure out to do inside that space. I'm not sure. I may want to move this whole things down. The end of the lot is kind of right here more or less. I put it here because I was looking at, well, maybe this is the entrance gates here, that's how you get in. But then I put this sidewalk over here just to kind of represent a driveway. So maybe push the whole thing to the right and maximize and try to figure out how to put some small little, rundown industry, or not industry, but a building in here, business. And then use the rest of this, I don't know, some kind of junkyard type of deal, or I don't know. I really got to brainstorm on what I could possibly fit in that tiny space. Alright, let's get this open, and we'll just go ahead and dump a little bit in here. Just kidding. We're first going to pour some into one of these little cups, and I'm going to do that over here just in case I screw up. Okay, so we've got just a little bit in here. That's actually way more than I think I'm going to need, and I'm just going to pour a very thin layer. I'm just going to try and get the entire bottom wet. And then rely on the product's self-leveling capabilities to level it out. Let's see if I can get you in here closer and show you what it's looking like. Okay, I don't know how well that's coming through, but you can see we've got a layer of water in there. So now we're just going to wait a day or so and see how that dries. Hopefully it will dry nice and clear, no bubbles, no troubles. Okay, so when I was thinking about what can I put in that small little odd-shaped lot there in the corner at the intersection of those two streets in Forest Hill, I was thinking, what are my options? And then it came to me. Kit of the Month kits from Foscale Models. I have a bunch of these that I haven't built yet. These are all small structures, and maybe I can do something with one of these. Maybe one of these will just fit. Or maybe we can try to channel our inner Jason Jensen and combine a couple of kits to give us something interesting. So here we have Berberian's News. So I do like to look at this kit. I like how it's got this little cutout here for the entryway. It's got the second building, so it's got a little bit of character. The question would be, could it fit? What is this? Wolcott tool, but there doesn't seem to be any picture of what Wolcott tool is. Hopefully I'm staying in frame here. Maybe I need to come a little bit over here. Let's see if there's any kind of picture here. Okay, yeah, okay, so this is it. It's a little bit interesting. It's got some height. It's got a sloped roof. This little thing on the side. Alright, this one's a little too plain. And we've got to remember that the front of the building is going to basically not be visible. It faces the street, so we're looking at the back of the building. So I'm really hoping to find something that has an opportunity for or has some interesting detail in the back already. Here we have a bus station. This one is kind of interesting. Again, it's got sloped roof. It's got these supports here. Am I in frame? Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily use it at a bus station. We could maybe convert it into something else. But that one might be worth looking at. Gas pump. This is really not going to work. I don't have any way to make this fit. Even if it could fit, I really don't have any way to fit it into the space to have it make sense for how the cars could get in and out, so we'll skip that one. Kundal's Diner, nah, this is not really fitting with what I'm envisioning in my mind. Not that that vision is very clear, but it's clear enough to know I don't like that. Fowler Auto Wrecking. Maybe, you know, if it fits, because it's got the front entry here where you could actually have coming off the street would be running here in front, so they could come into there. There doesn't appear to really be an entrance door, pedestrian door. Maybe it's there. Okay, I guess that's maybe a door. I thought that was just a window, but I guess that's a door right there. So that's certainly a possibility. I can already tell this one's way too big. Sunnyside Grill, that's never going to fit in the space. Okay, so this is Bedford's Lobster. Now obviously Bedford's Lobster wouldn't make any sense, but does this building make sense if I forget about here or the dock or whatever this is called under here and just have it sit on the ground? That's an interesting looking kit as well. So yeah, so that's definitely a possibility. Okay, here's one. So this one, again, this is what I was talking about. This is just a little too plain. This is just a box, and, you know, with the pitched roof, typical stuff. It might fit, but it's too boring. I'm looking for something a little less boring. Oh, and I have another Bedford's Lobster. I don't know how I did that. Oh, I think I acquired one in a lot of stuff that I bought on eBay. So that's where I got that. Let's see here. Nate's batteries. What's the size on this? Upside down, 2.5 by 3.75. Again, this would be a tough sell because there's not enough depth for me to be able to put this door facing the street. So this door would have to be on the side, and that seems a little awkward. So I don't think that would really work out. Monty Cab Company. Now this is really interesting. I don't know, 2 3/4. I don't know if it's going to be able to fit. It'll fit in the widest part of the lot, but the lot starts to taper down fairly quickly, so I don't know if I have 2 3/4 width or depth for 4 1/4 inches. I doubt it, but we might take a look at that one. And then finally, what do I got here? Oh, we got Jensen Comics. Again, this one's a little less boring, because it does have two floors, slanted roof, 3 inches deep, so it could only fit with this facing the street at the deepest part of the space, and it's only 1 3/4 wide, so then that leaves a whole bunch of other space and to be filled, and this building doesn't really lend itself to any kind of industry that would have a whole bunch of junk sitting out in the yard. So, all right, so let me go off camera and do a little measuring and see what might fit and see if we have a solution. I'll be back. Okay, so it's been several hours. Put this over it just to keep any dust from falling in there. Not that it really going to matter in this drainage ditch, but let's get the camera off and let's take a look down in there and see what we got. Okay. So I guess it all kind of soaked down in. So I think I'm going to go with another layer, another thin layer. Try to bring the water level up a little bit. I'd like to cover all of those rocks you see right there, just barely. So let's do a little bit more. Okay, so it's the next morning. Before I go into work, I'm going to pour a second layer here. All right, here we go. Alright, that should do it. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I expected, and I almost thought that I wasn't going to have a usable answer out of these Kit of the Month Club. But then I started looking a little bit closer at this one, and I realized that looking at this looked to me like it's just basically a rectangular box with a sloped roof. But when I started looking closer to the parts, you can see here in this diagram that it's actually got a triangular shape to it. Now, and I thought, that might work out just perfectly. However, this is the roof piece, which I used to just kind of go and try to fit into the space that I have. And it's a little, even if I put it to the far right, if you remember the space, this is just a little bit too long to fit in there. So what I thought I would do is take and just this is the floor, shave down 2 scale feet here, and then just a continuous angle back. Then I can use all the other parts. I'll need to do the roof as well. And I've did I mark that one yet? No, but I'll need to change those. And then what I'm going to do, if you look at the picture here, is and there's also, you'll notice this clapboard siding is this side here, but this side is just cardstock, so it's smooth. It isn't the clapboard, which is fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this side face the street, and then I'm going to take this little shed and I'm going to put it over here, which will be the back side, and then this will give me the opportunity to create some interest on, because this is going to be the viewed side of the building. Well, I had to go off camera there for a minute, because as I was explaining that to you, what my grand plan was, I realized that there's a fatal flaw, and that is that I need this side of the building, or I need the wide end to be on the right as you're standing there looking at it, because that's the widest section of the available space. So the building will have to be placed at the far right, with the large widest end of the building on the right, tapering down towards the left. And as I looked at that, I was like, okay, how am I going to now make that work? And so what I came up with was maybe a little bit crazy, but what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to cut down, this wide wall is just a skosh too wide for the space. So I'm going to, if you can see this here, I'm going to cut 2 scale feet off of each side of that. And then now, instead of the wide end being the tall end, I'm going to make the narrow end the tall end, and the wide end the shorter end, as in terms of the roof slope, so that now this will fit, as you're looking at it here. This is Jarrettsville Street in Forest Hill, so this would be the front of the building. This is the side that you'll be viewing it at from the layout edge. So I needed the wide end on the right. So we'll put the narrow on the left, so that'll make it a little bit funny shape this way instead of the other way. And obviously I will have to cut that down. I'll cut some of the height of this off there, and I can butt that on here to raise this up. And then again, I'll be able to put the little utility shed here on the back. There's a trash can that came with it. We'll put up some other junk and try to, make the back side of the building look interesting for the viewer's perspective, and the front side will just have the sidewalk and the street, and I think that'll work. So that is the plan. Obviously, the next step is to do the build. So stay tuned. Okay, so here is the final result. Can't really, a little bit of glare right there. Hopefully you can see that. Everything looks wet. Looks like there's water down there. I'm liking it. We're going to call that good enough. I think I'll put a little more weeds and stuff here, just to kind of indicate there's a lot of wetness there, so you're getting a lot of growth. But as far as the ditch itself, I think that's good.